The cold winter wind howled through the empty streets of the small town, carrying with it the faint scent of snow. The hospital stood as a beacon of light amidst the darkness, its windows glowing softly against the night. But just outside the entrance, curled up on a thin blanket, lay a small, scruffy puppy. His fur was matted, his paws dirty, and his eyes heavy with exhaustion. Yet every night, without fail, he was there, waiting. The staff had noticed him weeks ago. At first, they thought he was just a stray, seeking warmth near the building. But as the days turned into weeks, it became clear that this puppy was different. He wasn't there for food or shelter. He was there for something far more profound. Nurse Clara was the first to take pity on him. She brought him scraps from the cafeteria, a bowl of water, and even tried to coax him inside. But the puppy refused to move from his spot. He would wag his tail gratefully, eat the food, and then curl back up, his eyes fixed on the hospital doors. "What's his deal?" Clara asked one evening as she stood with Dr. Marcus by the entrance. "Why won't he leave?" Dr. Marcus, a seasoned physician with a heart as steady as his hands, shrugged. "Maybe he's waiting for someone." But who? The question lingered in the air, unanswered. One particularly cold night, Dr. Marcus was leaving the hospital after a long shift. His shoulders ached and his mind was heavy with the weight of the day's struggles. As he stepped outside, he saw the puppy again, shivering but resolute. Something about the little dog's determination struck a chord in him. He knelt down, his coat brushing against the frost-covered ground. "Hey, buddy," he said softly, reaching out to pet the puppy. The dog looked up at him with tired, soulful eyes. "What are you doing out here? It's freezing." The puppy whined softly, as if trying to tell him something. Dr. Marcus sighed and stood up. "All right, let's get you inside, just for tonight." But as he reached down to pick up the dog, the puppy backed away, his eyes darting toward the hospital doors. Dr. Marcus frowned. "You don't want to come in? Then what do you want?" The puppy let out a small, mournful bark and lay back down, his gaze never leaving the entrance. Dr. Marcus shook his head, baffled. He went back inside, but the image of the puppy stayed with him. There was something about those eyes, something familiar, something heartbreaking. The next day, Dr. Marcus decided to investigate. He asked around the hospital, trying to find out if anyone knew the puppy's story. It wasn't until he spoke to an elderly janitor that he got a clue. "That little guy?" the janitor said, leaning on his mop. "He's been here for weeks. I think he belonged to that old man who used to sit in the waiting room every day. You know, the one with the cane." Dr. Marcus's heart skipped a beat. He remembered the old man, Mr. Thompson. He had been a regular at the hospital, always sitting in the same chair, always alone. He had passed away a few weeks ago. "Mr. Thompson had a dog?" Dr. Marcus asked. The janitor nodded. "Yeah, a little mutt. He'd bring him sometimes, but the dog wasn't allowed inside, so he'd wait out here. After Mr. Thompson died, the dog just stayed." Dr. Marcus felt a lump form in his throat. He thanked the janitor and hurried back to his office, his mind racing. He pulled up Mr. Thompson's file and read through it. The old man had been battling cancer for years. He had no family, no friends, just his dog. That night, Dr. Marcus went back outside. The puppy was there as always, shivering in the cold. Dr. Marcus knelt down beside him, his eyes filling with tears. "You're waiting for him, aren't you?" he whispered. "You're waiting for Mr. Thompson." The puppy looked up at him, his eyes wide and sad. Dr. Marcus reached out and gently stroked the dog's head. "He's not coming back, buddy. I'm so sorry." The puppy whined again, a sound so full of longing and grief that it shattered Dr. Marcus's heart. He sat down on the cold ground, ignoring the frost seeping through his coat, and pulled the puppy into his lap. The dog didn't resist this time. He curled up against Dr. Marcus, his tiny body trembling. "I don't know how you've survived out here," Dr. Marcus said, his voice breaking, "but you don't have to do it alone anymore." Tears streamed down his face as he held the puppy close. He thought about Mr. Thompson, sitting in the waiting room day after day, with no one but his loyal dog by his side. He thought about the bond they must have shared, a bond so strong that even death couldn't break it. The next morning, Dr. Marcus brought the puppy inside. He cleaned him up, fed him, and gave him a warm bed in the corner of his office. The staff rallied around the little dog, showering him with love and attention. But the puppy never forgot his old friend. Every night, he would wander to the hospital doors and sit there for a while, staring out into the night. Dr. Marcus didn't try to stop him. He understood. Some bonds were too strong to be broken, even by death. And though the puppy's heart would always carry a piece of Mr. Thompson, he had found a new family in the hospital staff, and in Dr. Marcus. One evening, as Dr. Marcus sat in his office, the puppy curled up at his feet, he realized something. This little dog, with his unwavering loyalty and boundless love, had taught him a lesson about life. It wasn't about how long you lived or how much you achieved. It was about the connections you made, the love you gave, and the memories you left behind. As he looked down at the sleeping puppy, Dr. Marcus whispered, "Thank you, Mr. Thompson, for everything." Please subscribe to my channel and like a video. Thanks for watching.